Welcome to World Championship Weekend 2014. I'm Chris Beck.
And I am Alex Davey.
We are so happy to be joining you now for the second wave of X-Wing semifinals. Round 5?
Yep, we're on round 5, so we're closing in on the end of Flight 2. Before too long, we're going to know who our top 32 are for the weekend. Some very exciting stuff here today. And this next match is very interesting.
We have first a young man named Nathan Ide. He's from Wisconsin. He's got a 3-1 record today. He drove here last night, well, technically this morning.
1 a.m.
1 a.m. with his family. They packed up. He wasn't sure he was going to get a chance to play.
Yeah, unfortunately, they missed the pre-registration, and this event fills up fast. So they came here on a wing and a prayer, and fortunately, they were able to get into the tournament. So, which is fantastic because Nathan is, I think, 13 or 14 years old, very young. The kid is a prodigy. His only loss today has been a very, very, very close loss against world champion Paul Heaver. So that's his only loss. He's 3-1. It was a close loss, and several of his other games have been 100-0 blowouts. So Nathan riding high, doing well, trying to make the cut. He almost made the cut at Nationals. So we're very excited to feature him. And we're also very excited to feature Richard White. Richard White is from Team Covenant's Scum and Villainy podcast, which is an excellent X-Wing podcast. Check it out if you haven't done so yet. It is fantastic. They've got a lot of great interviews, commentary, and game information on there. So scope that out. Richard is here. Let's talk about these lists a little bit.
Okay, so we've got, from Nathan, we've got a fairly interesting 4-ship Rebel build.
Yep.
Starring Corin Horn in an E-Wing with fire control system, shield upgrade, R2-D2, and push the limit.
Yep.
He's flying with Biggs Darklighter as his wingman with hull upgrade, and a pair of Bandit Squadron pilots in Z95s. Pretty ambitious mini swarm for the Rebels.
Absolutely. This is a truly elite list. We have a 48-point Corin Horn on the table. That is almost half of Nathan's list. And if that goes down, he is in some serious trouble. Now, he has Biggs Darklighter to try to keep the heat off. He's got R2-D2 and a shield upgrade. So Corin is built about as tankily as possible. But this is an ambitious elite list. He will have to fly Corin expertly and not catch any too many bad green dice rolls in order to survive this matchup, because he is up against 6 ships. He's outnumbered, and what the Imperials do best is mass. Chris, let's talk about Richard's list. Also a really interesting list here.
At the top of the list, he's flying an Omicron pilot. That's a Lambda class shuttle.
Lambda class shuttle, lowest level Lambda class, cheap as you can get.
With a heavy laser cannon.
Yep.
Looks like engine upgrade.
Rebel captive,
tactician, and it looks like advanced sensors.
Yeah, advanced sensors. So this is a heavily loaded Lambda shuttle. So now there's sort of 2 ways you can play a shuttle, right? You can bring it in dirty cheap and without the ability to maneuver, or you can load it up with upgrades and make it a pretty effective combat monster in and of itself. So what we have here is we've got Richard has a heavily loaded up shuttle, and he's supporting that with numbers. So he's got a little bit of both worlds. He's got a nice heavy hitter, and he's got mass TIE fighters. Now, his issue here today is going to be that both Biggs and Corin are going to shoot in front of his entire list, and Corin will be able to do, of course, his notable ability, the double tap. So pilot skill advantage definitely going to Nathan. And in fact, these Bandit squadrons, all of them, they are going to fire it before all of the Academy pilots. So Nathan certainly has the edge in pilot skill, but Richard has the edge in numbers. It should be an exciting match.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
I heard we had some interesting game earlier today as well.
Yes, the previous game was one to watch. So if you have not seen Jeff Burling versus Brandon, that was a spectacular game. Some crazy final turns there, and an amazing win. And most of all, 2 spectacular players playing the game that we all love. So we're getting some of the first shots of the match here. and it looks like they are just setting up. Deployment is very interesting. Neither of these players seems particularly keen on navigating through a lot of asteroids, or perhaps they have simply decided to divide the map. The situation we have here is we have a dense asteroid field, and we have a wide open sort of 2/3 or 3/4 of the map to play in, and that may be an advantage for the ties because they may not have to get hung up, but. I didn't see these rocks go down, so I'm not sure what these players are thinking. But I'm already intrigued by this placement.
Are we gearing up for a joust situation here?
We might be. It does look like Nathan has placed all of his ships facing all of these TIE fighters. Nathan has the advantage of Biggs Darklighter, so if he can keep Biggs at range 3. And taking a few hits and maybe knocking down a couple of ties on the way in, he could be in good shape. But really, the first turn, I think, is going to determine the terms of this engagement. If Nathan peels away to fly elsewhere, or if these ties turn away from this fight, we'll have a very different game on our hands. But it's possible that they simply want to fly directly at each other, guns blazing, out for blood. Either way, it should be pretty exciting. The shuttle is on I think, an excellent intercept course. Now this shuttle is going to want to hang back as long as possible, throw that heavy laser cannon out, stay in the fight as much as possible, and I think Richard here has really very, very beautifully played this shuttle. I think it's on an excellent trajectory, and that's really what you need. The first turn placement of a shuttle is critical.
Now, the biggest hang-up about shuttle is they do not have a lot of native maneuverability.
That's true.
So is he going to approach slow here and then try to catch Corin and his fleet in a crossfire with these ties? What do you think that initial strategy is?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think he's going to do a first turn 0 maneuver. I could be wrong. Oftentimes with a shuttle you want to hang back a little bit, but this shuttle is already so far away, and if Nathan is out for blood, he's going to want to be bringing that offensive power of the shuttle to bear. So my guess is maybe a 1 or even, and this is unusual, but maybe a 2-speed maneuver. My guess is a 1-speed. Get up there a little bit, hang out sort of in the middle of the map as long as possible, throwing 4 dice. The one thing about the shuttle to note, it does have engine upgrade. So this is not your helpless shuttle. This shuttle can dogfight to some extent. It will take him often a few passes to come back into the fight, but this shuttle is not as easy to outmaneuver as one that does not have that engine upgrade equipped. So I think we're going to know more about how this game is going to play out after we see these first turn moves, and I, for one, am deeply curious to see what these players are going to do.
Excellent. Is that an upgrade you see used an awful lot on big ships, engine upgrade? I mean, me personally, when I'm playing, I love it, because it always seems to catch people off guard.
I think it is an absolutely incredible upgrade for large ships. Large ships have an advantage over small ships in that the boost carries them a little bit further, and not only that, but when you're looking at upgrades, the cost tends to scale with the effectiveness of your ship. So if you have a bunch of points tied up in a Falcon or in a shuttle already, and you want it to be an effective combat machine, adding that engine upgrade, it gives it that edge in maneuverability that can really help it get out of arcs or move to where it needs to be. And on a shuttle, it's trying to mitigate the only weakness of the shuttle, truly, is its dial. It has incredible attack, shields, and hull points efficiency. The only thing holding it back is its dial, and the engine upgrade can take the edge off of that.
Sure. Alex, what's your favorite ship after a year of game design behind X-Wing, watching a lot of ships play, getting a lot of play testing in? What do you like to fly the most?
That is difficult. I think my soul must be Imperial because I love the shuttle. I think the shuttle for a long time was very underrated, but it's been clocking some big wins lately. A shuttle was in the U.S. National Championship list.
Sure.
So it went from an underutilized ship, and there are players out there on the forums, Sable Griffin, a number of players who have sort of cracked the shuttle code. The shuttle's fantastic, but that I did not work on that ship specifically, other than to play test it a little bit. That was James Niffin's design, but that's a great design. I love the Interceptor. The Interceptor is a joy to fly. It faces some challenges in the meta. But for my money, the Fire Spray actually might be my favorite ship.
A man after my own heart.
They're just fun. They're fun. They're thematic. They've got hull. They're the everyman, but there's sort of this everyman ship that comes in at a good price point. It's not the flashiest ship, but it's got it where it counts, and it's a joy to fly. So the Fire Spray. And I think that the Phantom is another ship that I enjoy running that cloaking mechanic a lot. It makes your brain contort in new ways. But jumping back to the match here, it looks like we've got I would describe it as a slow joust. The shuttle went fast, actually faster than I thought it would.
I saw that. It's almost halfway across the board here.
Yep, and I think that's a good move. I think he needs to bring that shuttle into the fight because he's gonna want all of his guns up against this rebel list. He's going to need to do as much damage in this initial pass as he can, and I expect the shuttle to come forward again. And then as the rebels maybe sail past, the shuttle can bank a little bit, maybe pull a zero straight. That shuttle is going to want to stay back and just hammer those rebels with heavy laser cannon as long as possible. Excellent play from Richard here. I think he's doing what he needs to do. I think Nathan has a plan here too, though, because this rebel list may just tear these ties apart because every single rebel is going to fire first. I believe Nathan has the initiative. I could be wrong on this, but if not, even if the shuttle gets a shot in, the dominant firepower, the dominant pilot skill is on Nathan's side, and Nathan has Biggs. He's going to try to keep him at range 3. Biggs, he's going to try to hopefully Biggs will survive this round and take the heat off the ships that count. So it's. I think Nathan is banking on a big round here, doing a lot of damage to these ties to hope that his dice don't fail him and that the ties don't roll excellent evade results. But I think for both of these players, it's a good strategy. I don't think that there are any real mistakes. We're going to get to grips with things faster than in last game.
I was just about to note that it looks like if that Lambda shuttle plays its next move correctly, he may get a long distance shot at Corin unmitigated by Biggs, because Biggs will be too far out of range for his effect to pull off, right?
That is correct, and that's a double-edged sword, of course, because this particular Corin has R2-D2, so he can regenerate shields, but I will not deny a big hit on Corin with that HLC in the early game. This tie player, he needs to kill Corin Horn, because Corin Horn in the end game is an absolute monster, and I don't know that there's anyone better at playing him than Nathan. Corin seems to be Nathan's go-to ship. I've watched a number of his games. I've watched both of his games against world champion Paul Heaver, and both of those games were incredibly close. And actually, in both of those games, I think if Nathan had a little more time, he could have worn Han down and actually pulled off the win. So killing Corin is going to be critical to Richard's victory here. But whether or not to concentrate on him first, here's a big move from this shuttle. It's going to put him where he needs to be. I think this is the right play. He's going to get that gun. He may or may not get that gun to bear this turn, but he needs to get in there. So we're going to see where Corin ends up, because that's going to be important. If Corin is or is not in this heavy laser shot, that will be a critical component here. So he's playing Biggs well. He's going to take a lot of range 3 fire from these ties, and that'll mean Biggs should have a chance to survive this round. Very, very, very cool matchup. Very cool indeed. We're going to see
freaking aggressive right now. We're in. This is round 3.
There will be blood.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is a big turn. So now a lot of times, one of the things that I like to talk about when talking about X-Wing is pivotal rounds. There are certain rounds where you can look at the game state and understand that the results of this round are going to be crucial for both players, and I think it doesn't often happen this early, but this is one of those rounds. Nathan needs to kill some ties, and that's a good start.
At least 3 hits.
At least 3 hits
with
and a
reroll.
Is
that cocked?
I think they're discussing whether to roll it again or not. They're going to have to come to an agreement
here.
It's
at least a focus symbol.
Yep. They're talking about that, but this is a good start either way. And that is what Nathan needs. And Richard, looks like they're gonna just leave it. All right, good work. Okay, so very sportsmanlike play from both of them. They had a slightly cocked die. They talked about it. Corin fire control system kicks off. So if this ship does not go down, Corin, of course, has the end of round shot here. So we're going to see how those evade dice hold up. We got big plays. Oh, and it looks like that tie just got one-shotted off the board. Oh, good.
Boom!
Good. Boom! Shot. Like, are you the John Madden of this?
I got to do the sound effects if you're going to talk the whole time.
Yeah, this is fantastic. No, carry on, good sir. Yeah, that's a big play. First blood to Nathan, and what a turn. That was huge. That was huge for Nathan, and that's just the beginning. These ties are going to be facing an extraordinary amount of fire coming in here. We got another roll. I can't see these dice. Looks like
hit,
2 hits.
Hit and a focused hit.
These ties are... Oh, he's got a tough choice here because he spends the focus. Okay, so the attack is dodged, but he did strip that focus token, which is important. You know, you gotta wear down the defenses. He's gonna focus fire on this ship.
That's just gonna make it easier for the other, the 2 bandits.
Yep, I do not expect this ship to survive this round. He's got another bandit. He's got Biggs, and he's got Corin's second shot. This, depending on how things, there's 3 more hits. This is ugly. But
2 evades.
2 evades, so the ties are rolling all right as well.
Still up.
Richard may weather this storm yet, and I'm sure Nathan does not want to have to shoot the same tie over and over and over again. Biggs will. Okay, so the interesting thing here, Biggs feels like the offense is key. Looks like 2 hits go through. That should be another dead tie. Rough start for Richard here. Nathan's dice are hot, and Nathan's squad is very well tailored to just bring the pain, and he is bringing the pain. Now here's I think we're going to see hopefully a bit of a comeback here for Richard. Richard really needs this HLC to sing because he is now down 2 ships and has done no damage. This is going to be a short and brutal game one way or another. He needs these dice to really sing for him. That is not what he needed. That is absolutely not what he needed.
And no target lock to help.
No
reroll.
Target lock, no eyeballs rolled, 1 hit. You can't really roll too much colder with an HLC. That Richard, I think, is feeling the pressure from that. That is a tough roll. But we've got a chance here. These ties, of course, must target Biggs. Richard needs these rolls to go well. He needs to turn this thing around. He's coming into this first round, he's already had 2 knockout punches. It's going to be an uphill struggle from here. But that's a good start.
2 hits.
That was either 1 hit or no hits. I could not tell.
There's no draw from the damage deck. It doesn't look like anything went through.
He may have knocked a shield off Biggs, but we will see. Another 2 hits, so that's a start. And that looks like that's 1 more damage going through. So that's either 1 or 2 shields off Biggs. So not terrible, about what you'd expect. And here's number 3. Okay, well, at least these ties are rolling well. That makes up for the HLCs to some extent, but
not well enough
to
really take a chunk out of Biggs here.
I think Biggs is either shieldless or doesn't look like any damage got through it. It's hard to say, but we will see here.
That's some hard work for those ties.
It is.
Now.
It is. This is going to be a real uphill struggle. And of course, it looks like the more dice coming in.
Corin Horn with the double tap.
Corin Horn's double tap. This is an absolutely brutal joust. So I think what we've learned, if we've learned anything from this game, don't joust with Nathan.
No.
That list has guns for days. It's interesting because I thought coming into this that the ties were in relatively good shape, but looking back on it in retrospect, I think Nathan's got all the edge in the joust here. He's throwing more dice. He's got Biggs to protect his heavy hitters, and he's got the pilot skill edge. So really, he can do this kind of aggressive fly right into the face of these ships and just clean them up. No, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Now, I'm wondering, given the layout of the asteroids and the small size of these swarms relatively, might it have been a decent idea to cut apart those lanes and potentially approach from the asteroids? Is that ever a viable strategy?
Well, I think Richard may be reassessing his desire to just. Now, the interesting thing about this is, like, ordinarily, if you have 5 Academy pilots in a souped-up shuttle, flying directly at the enemy is a solid play. But I think in this situation, Richard may be regretting this joust. He's going to try to block some stuff up and turn things around here. But in retrospect, I'm not sure how I would handle Nathan's list. Nathan has a fierce build, and it may be better to come in slowly and try to outflank, or at least maybe lead with the shuttle. But the shuttle can only take so much punishment. I don't know if there are any easy answers in Richard's shoes. I'm finding I'm having a difficult time even figuring out what I would do about Nathan's list with Richard's list. It may be kind of a rough match. It's hard to say. I'm at a loss here, to be quite honest. I don't know what I'd do differently.
Well, I think what we're going to see resolving here is some blocking with the remaining ties,
and that will be critical. And I think now Nathan's obviously too smart to let that happen if he can help it. But I think in retrospect, maybe the attempt for Richard's list is to avoid the joust until you can throw some of those academies in front, block them up, make them lose their actions, make sure that they don't all get all of their juicy shots. In retrospect, that may have been the right choice, but it is so tough with lists like these, to really know what to do. And to be quite honest, Nathan's dice were very hot on this initial pass, and Richard's were not terrible, but they were more average. So it's a tough fight for Richard at this point.
One advantage I see Richard having is that Corin spent his second attack.
That's
he double
true.
tapped. Now he has no ability to attack. He has to run or hope he doesn't soak any damage on the way through this scrim right here.
Yep. It does look like the tie has managed to. I believe this is a K-turn attempt, and that is big for Richard, because if this is a K-turn, that'll be no shot and a stress, and he'll be in a poor position for next turn. And I believe we'll see if the stress token comes out or if it was simply a straight maneuver. Yep, that was a blocked K-turn. So that's something in Richard's favor. The shuttle now swinging in. I think we will see the tide shift a little bit this turn if Richard can roll some decent dice here. Corin now, of course, he has expended his double tap. So his job now is to reposition. He can do a big, long, he hasn't taken any shield damage, so he's not restricted to green moves. He can take a wide, sweeping bank or a K-turn, but I would predict a bank and an evade or something like that. He's gonna try to reposition and then come back in later and do another double tap would be my prediction.
Looks like we got a set of bumper cars here.
If this is another blocked K-turn, I think Richard has played a very good game. Tie pilot number 1. Both of these ties excellently placed. No, I think it's tie pilot number 1. Beautiful move by Richard. Blocks both of these Ks. Those bigs and that Z is out of position. So this is very, very sharp playing by Richard here. Caught some bad dice, but Richard is going to, I believe, be in pretty good shape coming into this.
So we're making a little bit of space here for Corin to pull off a maneuver. I am so curious.
So
it's a 2-bank.
I believe this will clear.
Oh, goodness. That's range 1 of the Lambda shuttle.
That's true. Now, the Lambda's going to have a difficult choice because I don't think that Richard has the weight of fire to take out Corin in a single round. Because Corin, you have to understand, Corin has 4 shields and 2 hulls. So it is mathematically impossible for this Lambda shuttle to kill Corin in one shot. And his only other shot is a TIE fighter. So he's got a tough decision. Does he go for Corin, who is vulnerable, or does he try to kill these stressed out?
Well, I don't think he even has a shot at Corin.
No, Biggs is there. You're
Biggs
absolutely right.
So
Corin's safe.
Corin's fine for now.
Corin is absolutely safe. So yeah, tying Richard's hands. Biggs Darklighter, of course, one of the most powerful pieces in this game. Anytime you can dictate your opponent's strategy and take the heat off of the things you need to keep alive, that is not what Richard needed. Richard's been rolling a lot of blanks when he needs a lot of evades. That is not going to help.
Oh, he took a crit where minor explosion takes him out.
I feel like Richard is on the losing end of the luck streak here because his ships are going down in one shot. and the numbers are swinging. He is down 3 TIE fighters now. It's 4 ships on 4 ships, and it's very, very tough here for Richard.
It's almost a 50-point deficit.
It is. It is now. He's got some hits on Biggs, but it's looking ugly. I'm not going to lie. It is not looking good for Richard's beleaguered TIE fighters here. He needed some evade dice, and they have gone cold for him. They're trying to determine here if it's a range 2 or range 3. I believe that looks like a range 2 shot. We are... he might be shooting... What is happening here?
So we moved Biggs out of the way to see if we can shoot at this.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on. This is Nathan trying to figure out what targets he's got, because he's only got 1 shot with these rebels. So we'll see if this ship is in range. Just they're trying to be as precise as possible here. Looks like a range 3 shot from this Z95 into one of these ties here, one of the few remaining ties. So. I missed that roll. I don't think it was a great one. We're gonna see. Yeah, it looks like a clean miss. But you take every shot in this game. You got to roll those dice, no matter how unlikely.
I've seen some amazing range 3 through asteroids taking out my favorite pilot, Sunter Fell, before. Heart-stopping. Heart-stopping.
I think every Interceptor fan has got that story. You've got a tooled-up Interceptor. You're rolling 6 dice, and it is blank, 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 blank. And
that one focus, that's great.
Yep.
That really helps.
Yeah. So this is a game of this is a game of high variability, and so you got it. No matter how unlikely, you take every shot you can get. But it looks like it continues to go. It continues to go a little bit south for Richard here. We're gonna try to turn the tides here. We're gonna start shooting with Richard's list, and we're gonna see what happens. It looks like Biggs has been eliminated, so that's big. That needed to happen for Richard to have any chance here. So now, of course, Nathan is down to 3 ships, but Nathan has a closer in Corin Horn, and with only 2 TIE fighters left, it is going to be an uphill battle.
Well, they're evenly matched against those Z95s.
That is true. So so Nathan's got basically it's Corin and a shuttle versus ZZ versus 2 ties. My money is on Corin. Corin is 48 points of lethality here, and if anyone of you have ever played against a tooled up Corin in the late game, he's as bad, or depending on the situation, worse than a late game Sunter Fell or a Phantom. He's one of those power pieces where if he's alive and on the board, look out, especially as the game goes on.
I've only gotten to play with him a handful of times, but when I'm in his pilot seat, fantastic. When I'm on the losing side, no, I'll just concede.
Absolutely. I think he's easily the breakout star of the E-Wing. You don't see a lot of generic E-Wings, but you see a fair amount of Itan Abat, and you see quite a bit of Corin Horn. He's one of those power pilots that really fully, just absolutely fundamentally changes the nature of the E-Wing and your strategy.
Itan Abat surprises me whenever I play against him. I never give him a whole lot of credit. I never give Biggs a whole lot of credit. But I've seen in recent play, especially over this weekend, some fantastic use of those 2 ships, and they serve a purpose.
They do, and I think Biggs, the utility of Biggs has been known for a long, since Wave 1, really. Biggs, I think, again, one of those ships where we all have that story where Biggs wouldn't die and just, Biggs, I think, is a well-established thing, but Itan Abat, he comes in cheaper than Corin, and he's similar to Hal Runner in that he boosts the damage potential of your entire list. He's in a good chassis, the E-Wing, a very capable ship. His only downside is a high price.
Right.
But, I've seen a lot of very solid, very capable Eton builds.
What's his pilot skill? Is it a 5?
Yeah, he's a 5, which is, middle of the pack. It's not stellar. He's not one of those late game, give him an engine upgrade, outmaneuver ships, but it's high enough to outshoot most of the generics out there.
Sure.
And it means the low pilot skill means his price comes down proportionately. And unlike Corin, he is not a linchpin of your build. He's a wonderful bonus, but you're not You don't generally stack as many upgrades. You don't generally put as many eggs into the Eton Abbot basket. So you get greater numbers, and what you especially get in the matchup against Imperials, you get the ability to put crits on. And as we have seen, crits can be absolutely devastating to TIE fighters. Direct hits, the bane of their existence. TIE fighters, interceptors, bombers. These are all ships that Eton absolutely punishes for their lack of shields. So what we have here, interestingly, the points are close. The points are close here, so not over yet by any means, but I think it's going to be a tough fight for Richard at this point. I'm hoping that his dice heat up a little bit and he can close the gap a little bit here, so we can see how this plays out. But it should be a very good game. I expect a lot more carnage before we're through.
I have a sinking feeling about this Lambda shuttle. I really do. I love the Lambda shuttle. It's one of my favorite looking models. But just its proximity to that outer boundary, the type of maneuver it's going to have to pull to go after Corin, or to keep up with his TIE escort. I don't know.
I don't think the Lambda can afford to try to track down Corin. I think that would be actually a huge mistake at this point, because I agree with you. I think what the Lambda needs to do, the Lambda needs to just keep pouring fire on these Z95s, try to take them out before they can shoot, and just even things up a little bit, because what he's going to need to do, he can't afford to chase Corin and waste his time. He does have an engine upgrade, which helps, so I'm not too worried about him going off the board. He's got a lot of flexibility, no stress. But I think the play here for the shuttle is to go after those Z95s. Looks like especially because we've got an actionless Z here. HLC could take care of that, one shot theoretically. We got a bump. So I think he needs to try to close the gap and Richard needs to hope he can make it to the end game, and those ties can survive to put pressure on Corin at the end of things here.
Just run and outlast?
Yeah, I mean, there's very little percentage in going for Corin at this point unless you have no other shot, because Corin, remember, he can regenerate a shield every single round.
Right.
And he's got fast moves. He's one of those ships where you have to, if he's got R2-D2, you need to focus fire on him, or you are in that very frustrating position of watching those hit points come back round after round after round, especially with 4 shields on there. It is not an easy ship to play against.
Oh, and we've got an early collision here.
Yep, I wasn't expecting the Lambda to survive, to not collide this round. It didn't really have anywhere to go. So I think this is a good move for Richard. He can bend in a little bit. He should have shots on Z95, and in later rounds can maybe bring himself back to bear on Corin. I think Richard's making the right moves. I don't think Richard has really made any mistakes here. He loses the pilot skill war, and we are watching hot attack dice from Nathan take ship after ship after ship off the board and take Richard's numerical advantage away.
We just saw the use of advanced sensors, knowing that he was going to run his Lambda into Corin. He decided to pull a pocket target lock out, assume a target lock on somebody else.
And it looks like this shuttle will chase Corin. So we will see if I end up eating my words. He may be setting that target lock up for the late game, though, because I don't think he expects to catch Corin this turn. So I think he took a look at the situation. He thought, I need to do big hits to Corin when he comes back around. I'm going to set up this target lock for the future, and then I'm going to hope to hit Corin with 4 dice target lock focus and get him down, because that's what needs to happen to kill Corin. So I think that's an interesting play. I had forgotten that there was advanced sensors on that shuttle. That's an excellent way to prevent the shuttle from losing its actions, because shuttles will bump quite frequently, particularly in a list with 5 Academy pilots. Got the hiccups here. So points destroyed, still very close here. And do you know how much time there is remaining in this round? I've gotten so wrapped up in this, I have no idea.
To be honest, I think this round we've got a lot of time left. We've seen a lot of action. This is round 5 of this game, but there was a lot of traded fire going on in round 3 and 4.
Yeah,
so
I think we've got at least a good 50 minutes left. So I think we will see this game resolved fully. Some more dice coming in.
I'm not exactly sure. Why did Corin soak two stresses? I see.
It looks like a tactician on the Omicron.
Rebel Captive. And Rebel Captive.
Okay. So now I'm starting to understand Richard's build a little bit better here, because that shuttle, if you are shooting at it, which you're wise to do because it's his power piece, you're taking stress from that. You're taking stress. He took a stress from the K turn, but Corin also can mitigate this because, of course, Corin has a target lock now, and
dear. There's four hits with 1 evade, so 3 shields coming off that Omicron pilot.
Yep, that's a nasty roll. Corin, and again, this is how Corin works. He is set up because he will get another end of the round shot with the benefit of that target. He won't get a target lock because he's stressed. So,
well, it's already there. It's already there.
Oh, yeah, no, he picks that up.
He must have taken it in a previous round.
No, my mistake. Fire control system allows you to acquire a target lock, not perform the target lock action. So that's another ingenious way to get around that stress. He's gonna, and so Corin's gonna be firing with 4 more dice with target lock at the end of this round, which is just absolutely devastating. Absolutely a devastating combo. That's 48 points of E-wing, but it is money.
Dangerous. But the Omicron pilot's in a good spot to hammer away at a
decent roll.
Z95 here.
Yep, he got a decent. Oh, maybe not actually. Well, it looks like it looks like he corrected the situation. I forgot he didn't have any focus.
That looks like 4 hits.
I think it's a good shot from the Omicron, if nothing else. Unless. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Nathan's still firing. I believe I missed.
Woo!
Hot dice, Nathan. Good Lord. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Well,
who is he firing on with 4 dice?
It must be. That must have been Corin's shot. Must have been Corin's end of the round shot. Richard here, you can tell, feeling the hurt there. It's been absolute. Yep. That was Corin's end of the round shot. Direct hit, structural damage.
There's another crit under there,
Crit under there. This game has gone south for Richard. Richard on the receiving end of some utterly brutally punishing dice. And Corin Horn, again, fire control system, another target lock. I don't think this game, I think this game is quite frankly over for Richard. And Richard needs a miracle here. He needs an absolute miracle to survive because he is just running out of gas.
Time to get those TIE fighters back in the fight.
Yeah, Richard needs to pray that the hot streak reverses in a big way, because Nathan's dice have been just burning hot this entire game, and Richard has been on the receiving end of an absolutely brutal series of attack rolls.
Where does that Lambda shuttle go now? I mean, with structural damage, what does that do? Can he pull a 0 maneuver now, or is he in trouble?
Well, he's not stressed, so he could do a 0, which wouldn't be the worst play. The one thing this Lambda has going for it is it will get to fire before the Z95s, and Corin has used his pilot ability. So Corin will not be able to finish off this Lambda. I give this Lambda 1 more shot for this game. This Lambda's got to maybe target a Z, target one of the injured Zs, try to pull it off the board. A 0 or perhaps a bank maneuver could do it. He does have advanced sensors, so he could, I actually predict at this point a 0 maneuver and a focus or target lock action for this Lambda shuttle would be ideal here. Hope those Zs stake around, or maybe a bank to catch that Z on the right. A 0 might actually prevent him from getting any shots. So perhaps a soft bank to the right to chase down that Z95. Or if that Academy gets out of his way, a bank to the left. Either way, I think the shuttle needs to turn if it's going to bring any guns to bear. We'll see what Richard does here. Yeah, it looks like this Academy is getting out of the shuttle's way. I expect the shuttle to either do a 0 or a left bank at this point. This TIE fighter maybe blocking Corin, maybe getting a shot on this Z95. I've got to credit Richard with very solid play here. I don't think he's making any mistakes. I think Nathan is also an absolutely excellent player, and we're looking at what happens when two good players go head to head, and pilot skill advantage and hot attack dice just rip through something like a 5 Academy list. This is what happens when the red dice heat up. We got this Z95 gunning for this TIE fighter here. Tall TIE.
It doesn't quite look like he's going to get the shot, but he's set up for future round.
Yeah, he's set up for the pursuit. I will say this: Richard does have one advantage. If you notice, his TIE fighters are extremely tall.
We pulled they're very tall.
He's got the height advantage.
They've got a great vantage point.
And his Lambda as well. So Richard with the height advantage, but in practical terms, limited advantage. Advantage at best.
Now what is Corin going to do? He's going to bump.
Well played by that Academy. And Corin will have no shot this turn, which means this Lambda is going to live to fight another day, which is exactly what he needs to do. He needs to grease this Z95. It needs to happen for him. Come on, Richard.
I want to see it.
Take it apart. You need some. That's 2 hits at least. I couldn't see the other 2. Z95 rolling for defense here pretty soon, I think. Or maybe not. I'm not sure what happened there. Here's the defense roll.
I'm guessing the extra stress was probably a
tactician shot.
A tactician.
So it looks like I'm not sure.
Oh no!
Shuttle goes down.
Z95 took it in the lower right-hand corner.
Yep. Yeah, tough game for Richard here. But a very sporting and very well-played game. I think it's a mop-up operation at this point. I don't realistically credit these TIE fighters with any real chance at this game.
No.
I think at this point, both of these players still have a chance at the top 16. Like, Richard needs to close that margin of victory gap or prevent any more losses. I think it's all about triage at this point.
Sure.
It's all about taking as little of a loss as he can, because I don't think he can realistically plan on a win. He's got to try to stay in the tournament by narrowing that margin of victory and then winning his next 2 games. That is the way for Richard to make it to the final 16. It's his only chance. He's got to preserve these points, maybe take out a Z95 or 2, but it doesn't look like the luck has been with him yet. I'm hoping he can at least close the margin of victory gap a little bit here, because he's a fantastic player, great guy. The Scum and Villainy podcast is a blast to listen to. So you got to pull for the guy, and he's had some tough breaks this game.
We love everybody here.
We love everybody.
We love Imperials. We love Rebels.
We do.
We love the Scum and Villainy. We love the people who podcast for the Scum and Villainy.
Absolutely. And the fun thing about the Scum and Villainy podcast is that they chose that name well before Scum and Villainy faction was released. So they're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk about when Wave 6 is released.
I bet they were just tickled when we made that announcement. I got to be honest, I am so very much looking forward to Boba Fett. Reskinned Scum and Villainy wise, the abilities that you guys worked into him play so much into my play style. I can't stand sitting on the outside and trying to dodge and weave.
You go in
with a big ship. I have to fight. I have to be in the middle of it.
You must be appreciating this build, because if your play style is to get right up and into the face of things. For those of you who don't know in the audience, Boba Fett's, the Scum and Villainy version of Boba Fett, his pilot ability is he gets to reroll attack and defense dice up to the number of enemy ships.
Are within range 1,
in range
right?
1, yep, absolutely. So Boba Fett in the Joust, blasting up in front of a bunch of Academy pilots, getting a range 1 shot of his own, he can potentially get 4 attack dice with 4 rerolls, plus focus, and when he gets shot and shooting back, he gets to reroll both of his defense dice as well. So if you want a fire spray that can go toe-to-toe with a swarm, Scum Boba Fett is a very exciting choice. And I'm glad you like him. We talked about fire sprays. They're a phenomenal ship. And I, for one, am excited to have a different Boba and a more, straightforwardly powerful Boba Fett than the Imperial one, whose maneuver tricks can be interesting, but does not have the same sort of attack and defense buff of the new version. So I can't wait for that to hit the shelves. I have played a lot of games with it myself, and I love it. So I'm hoping that that's a popular choice as well, especially for aggressive players.
Oh dear, Richard, just lost another TIE fighter.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I just hope he kills one of these bandits. I think he's due a bandit because it's been a rough game for him. He's had a lot of cold attack dice, and Nathan's dice are hot. This could be a pretty rough game. Now he did kill Biggs, so he's not going to have a completely terrible MOV. But if he can kill a bandit as well, I think he'll have a pretty respectable margin of victory loss and a chance at the top 16. So honestly, I'm rooting for Richard at this point, just to pick up one more ship kill and hopefully close this game out on a reasonably high note for him, because it's been a tough fight for him today. And I know it's been said before too, but you've got to be impressed with Nathan, a player as young as that. Now, we've been focusing on the game, and we haven't shown the players too much, but Nathan is a very, very young kid and just a sweet guy. And, having come all the way out here from Wisconsin, drove through the night to be here because this game is obviously very, very near and dear to him, and he is an excellent player. He has an excellent chance at actually winning the World Finals. I think I can say that with complete confidence. And an absolutely phenomenal player, especially considering his age. So it is very exciting to see, people of all ages and backgrounds, young and old, getting together and playing this wonderful game.
Now, that's something you folks at home on the other side of the internet can rely on. We're going to be covering the final game of X-Wing Worlds Tournament tomorrow, roughly around 4 o'clock in the early evening.
Yeah, and my wonderful co-designer Frank Brooks will be commentating on that game, so you're going to get to see his perspective on the match as well. He and I have been co-designers on X-Wing for waves, I think 4 through 8 now at this point. Now, obviously, 2 of those waves unreleased, but we've worked together for a long time, and I think he has a pretty fresh perspective as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about some of these lists as well.
Yes, I want to see that TIE fighter dog that Z95 right into the asteroids.
I want this Z to go down. I will admit my bias. I want it down, and it looks like Nathan is not letting up on the aggression. He is not flying away and turtling up. He's flipping. He's firing. Well, it's worked for him so far. So, why switch strategies when this one has been so brutally effective for him all game?
He wants a total win, and he's ideally placed to try to capture that with 72 points and only a 12-point TIE fighter preventing him from that.
Yeah, if Nathan can clean this last tie off the board, I'm going to do some math in my head here. He's going to have a huge margin of victory for this game, and he's had great margins before. I think Nathan is looking to just try to secure his place in the finals here, make sure that even if he loses his next game, he's got a chance at the top 16. Because remember, Nathan is 3-1. And if Nathan were to lose his next game, it would all come down to the margin of victory. Was this a Corin end around shot?
This is a Corin first shot.
First shot from Corin. 2
hits, 2 blanks.
TIE fighter needs some dice.
It can be dodged.
Well,
dodge 1.
Is it still alive? It has survived. Now it's going to weather this bandit. It's going to be tough.
Range 3.
Nathan's dice are not letting up.
A hit and a crit.
I think you get to say boom again pretty soon.
Nope, we got
two evades.
We got 2 saves. He's still
Excellent.
up.
All right, still in the fight. Come on, Richard. Pull it out. You got one more shot. Nathan.
2 hits.
Boom, boom, boom. I mean, he's
got
got to use the focus. He's got to use the
focus,
which means, of course, this attack here is not going to be modified. But I'm pulling for Richard. Richard, roll 3 crits for me here, buddy. Roll 3 crits. Take out that. Oh, he's got looks like a range 2 on the Z. So I think it'd have to be a 2. He's maximum 2 dice here because there's no point in shooting Corin. It's not going to help. So here come the 2 dice.
A hit and a crit.
Well, here it is. That's as best as you can do. And we got the evade dice. They've been hot for Nathan. We're going to see what happens.
It looks like that.
It looks like he pulled it off. So I think it's all over. It's all over here. He's got...
Spent the target lock. Another crit and another hit.
3 dice, and Richard's going to need some hot greens. Not going to do it.
Nothing. Game
and
over.
It's all over. Well fought match, and
that
was
a fantastic match.
Absolutely, and it became one-sided after about the halfway point. But I can't fault Richard for his playing. Nathan's dice were as hot as I've ever seen, and Nathan, of course, an excellent player. But I think all around, so the last game that we saw, of course, we had Jeff Burling's crazy build, and it was all about kiting and escaping, and running away. But this game is you've got the opposite end of the extreme, flying right at each other, guns blazing, and just death all around, death and carnage all over the board.
Sure.
Now, I think if Richard's dice had been a little better, he maybe could have picked up a couple of Z's towards the end there. But really, the critical turn was the Corin's brutal double tap of that shuttle, and really the first pass. The first pass put.
We lost 2 TIE fighters on Richard's squad.
It really put Richard on the back foot from the get-go. So he was fighting uphill the rest of the game, valiantly fought, but a tough thing to come back from when you have that merciless joust on round 3.
Those Z95s did their job screening for Biggs. Biggs soaked some hits.
They did.
Stealing blast opportunities.
They did.
From these other ships that were at range 1 almost.
Yep.
And the dice, they just stunk. They just stunk for Richard.
Richard caught some bad breaks, and that's what happens in this game. I mean, you need a couple things to win a tournament here. You need to play well. You play very well. You need to have a good list. You need to make no mistakes, and you need to have some luck. And that's what it comes down to when you have more than 100 players cut to top 16, single elimination finals. It is. I mean, these players are the best of the best, but every single one of them faces a very tough fight the whole tournament long.
Now you've had a chance to see a variety of lists.
Yes.
Where is the meta shifting? Are there meta favorites? Are the Imperials the underdogs here? Because I got to tell you, last flight yesterday, we had almost a third more rebels than we did Imperials. We had what, 69 rebel lists against 42 or 43.
Yep.
What's the count today? Do you know?
I don't know today's count, but what I do know that we've had a number of top 16, a pretty good diversity, and a lot of rebels and Imperials in the top 16. So I think going into the 32, I've been watching the games today. We've got a lot of Imperial wins. The UK National Championship, I don't know how he's doing round 5, but he's 4-0 with, I believe, either a house swarm or an 8-tie swarm.
Sure.
So I fully expect to see that in the top 32. We've got some good shuttle, Carnor, Phantom builds. I expect to see plenty of Phantoms. I think what we're seeing a lot of Fat Han lists. We're seeing a lot of lists designed to counter Fat Han. We're seeing a lot of just all-purpose quality Phantom lists. We're seeing the ever-present TIE Swarm. I like to say that the TIE Swarm is the shark of X-Wing. I mean, it has not needed to evolve because it remains absolutely brutal. Now, what has had to evolve is how you fly the TIE Swarm,
right.
But the core efficiency and the core brutality of that number of TIEs has remained constant. So you have that kind of dominant meta stuff, and you have plenty of that. But it's not like half the tournament or anything. It's probably 20 or 25% of the whole tournament is these sort of meta lists, these net lists that have been universally recognized as good. But you have a lot of crazy lists out there. I'm seeing a lot of A-Wings actually in the top tables. I saw a Tycho, Jake Farrell, and Millennium Falcon build go 3-0. So we'll see if we'll check in with that list. Maybe get that up game 6, depending on where that's at. And I've seen a lot of crazy builds make it as well. So I'm very pleased with the diversity in this tournament and with the diversity in the game. And I fully expect to have a very, very interesting top 32 with a wide variety of lists. And certainly if Flight 1 is anything to judge by, I think we can expect the same thing from Flight 2.
What is, in closing before we take a small break,
yeah.
What is the zaniest list you've seen so far?
I think there's two. I mean, you gotta credit Jeff Burling's Janors and Chewbacca list. I mean,
sure.
Those of you who watched that match know what I'm talking about. That is a fascinating build, and I can 100% guarantee that nobody else in the world or the universe or a galaxy far, far away or the future has ever built quite that kind of list before. And so it's a lot of fun to see that do well. But we also have a very interesting list out there. One of the original shuttle proponents and bomber proponents, he's Sable Griffin on our FFG forums. Mark, he is running 4 bombers with proximity mines and an Omicron group pilot shuttle with Darth Vader. So you've got the so-called Doom shuttle, and you've got 4 bombers, and you've got proximity mines. And going into round 5, he was 3-1. He dropped his last game. He dropped a proximity mine on Whisper, and Whisper had 1 shield remaining. Proximity mine did hit crit, took the shield. Crit came up. Structural damage, I believe, or the crit that means if you bump into something, you take a damage. And then in the next round, Griffin was able to block the Phantom with a bomber and he took out a Phantom without even shooting guns at it. So I think 5 proximity mines, that's a card that's been written off. There's been some recent FAQ changes to try to make it a little more competitive, and I think we're already seeing the effect of those changes, and I think it's a really positive one. I'm excited to see 4 bombers on the table. I wish him well, and we'll see where he is at the end of this round. But I'd say that those are the 2 zaniest lists I've seen. No, there's one more. There's one very fascinating list. Now, this is going to be in the top 32. This is Aaron Bonar's, he calls it the 6 Sigma list. It has Sigma Squadron Pilot with let me rack my brain here. It's got enhanced scopes, intelligence agent, I believe sensor jammer, and a Stygian particle accelerator. So not your typical Phantom build at all. And he has 2 of those. And then he has a decked out Echo with advanced cloaking device, and I'm not sure what upgrades, but probably the standard whiz-bang Phantom stuff. But what that list can do is he can look at 2 dials before moving anything. He's got the decloak power, and even though those Sigmas only have 2 agility because they don't have the advanced cloaking device and their low pilot skill, he can surgically dissect the opposing list, and I have watched him. It is sick, Chris. It is sick what that list can do. And it's, the Phantom's a very, very powerful ship, obviously a top-tier ship, but this is not the Phantom that you usually see.
Sure.
So, it's interesting to see a new take on an already devastating ship, and it's not the usual build. So that's been a lot of fun, too. So I would say those are the 3 weirdest lists here. I could be wrong. I have not seen every single list, but those are the ones that caught my eye.
Excellent. Maybe we'll get a chance to see him later tonight.
Maybe we will.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. This is X-Wing, Wave 2, Flight 2.
Flight 2.
Flight 2. The end of round 5. We're going to be rolling into round 6 very soon here after we get a few updates. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Beck.
I'm Alex Davey.
And we'll be seeing you here back in a few minutes.
Stay tuned.
Thank you.